From the big screen to each and every airways. Welcome all of my American beauties back to a brand new episode right here on the People's Princess Podcast, the place that provides intimate and intentional conversations surely to make you feel like royalty. And y'all, oh my gosh, one of my role models is here as my special guest. But before she talks to you guys, allow me to introduce herself to you guys. Not only is she a graduate of the University of Memphis, in my opinion, she is one of the most underrated influencers in today's social media world. And not only that, when I tell y'all this is like one of my role models since 2022, and not only she is one of the big She is one of the biggest, not only magazine turned social media empire superstars of today's industry. She is the definition of what it means to be a poster girl. So, ladies and gentlemen, coming in straight from Memphis, Tennessee, Miss Jamaya Moné, aka the Poster Girl. Hi, Jamaya. Hi, how are you doing today?
Hey, oh my God.
Don't cry. I almost did before you came in here. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm excited. Like I told you before, it was very just heartwarming to see one of my role models actually want to be able to talk to me, and I'm very excited.
Yes, of course, girl. I'm ready to share. What we talking about? Yeah.
So, before we start, go ahead and introduce yourself to those who might not know you or even those who are getting to know you.
Okay. So, guys, I'm Jamaya Moné or Jamaya Fleming. I am 23 years old from Memphis, Tennessee. I am a former track and field athlete at the University of Memphis, turned now building a social media or fashion empire with the Poster Gworl. And the Poster Gworl is a fashion magazine and podcast, or really overall brand just surrounding fashion and beauty. It's a cute little space for the girls, for us to talk, for us to just do beauty insights, vlogs. I'm kind of trying to turn it into kind of like a network a little bit, but yeah,
Okay.
all things fashion and beauty, that's me.
Awesome. So, in your words, what do you think it means to be a poster girl for Jamaya? What would that exactly look like?
I always tell people being a poster girl is first inner than what comes from your inside before your outside.
Mhm.
Like it's all about just what you exude. A poster girl exudes confidence. She exudes, or he or she exudes, love, pureness, poise. And then when you come into the outside, it's just that girl that walks in the room and it's like, I'm here. You don't even got to do too much. You don't got to say too much because I'm like I'm extroverted introvert. So I'll be very quiet and comfortable. So yeah, you just make your mark, make your noise without having to physically make that noise. So
And
yeah.
that's actually an amazing thing to hear because, like myself, I can be ambiverted at times, but a
Hmm.
lot of people don't even realize it's something about those quiet ones that make the most noise. So,
Exactly.
that is always one of the biggest things to consider. For
Exactly.
me, I would like to know what was your process behind creating the poster girl image? What happened that day? What made you feel, you know what? It's time for me to make a magazine.
Y'all know it's crazy. Okay, so 2022,
Hmm.
I was going through a lot of changes in my life with I was just going through a very, very rough time in 2022. And one of my
Hmm.
friends came, we like sat in the living room and he was like, this is where you need to navigate your like, what do you want to do? And we're gonna put your
Hmm.
attention in that. So he ended up starting a clothing brand and I was like, I want to start a magazine called Poster Gworl. And he was like, all right, cool. Like, all right, that's what you finna navigate your attention to. Like all this other stuff, forget that. This what you finna be working on. So I worked on that for a little minute and then I came up with doing like the physical copy of the magazines, did that, and then in the midst of that, I kind of had an interest in journalism because my degree is in health science, but I did a lot of social media
Hmm.
marketing work for like University of Memphis athletics department and then for the American Athletic Conference. So I had a background
Hmm.
in it kind of just never knew where to use it. So I had an interest in like a journalism tip. So I was like, I want to interview
Mhm.
people that's part of my magazine or like the people that, can be in the magazine. So I did the first interview with Antoine. Antoine Lever, he's a photographer here in Memphis, but he's like family. So if I
Mhm.
ask him, he ain't got no problem doing it. So I was like, I want to do an interview with somebody. I know Antoine is like a perfectionist when it comes to anything production, photo, anything. So I'm like, yeah, we're just gonna sit in here and do it. He comes, has the lights set up, has the cameras. I'm like, okay, all right, we'll do this then. So we did the first one, and after that first one, it just shot off from there. And after doing those interviews, it kind of helped my magazine grow um into like what it is. But I also
Mhm.
used to model, and I said if I model again, I want it to be based off my own brand. But also, if I have a brand, I want it to
Mm.
reflect personal aesthetic. So it kind of just happened. Like the Poster Gworl, that's kind of what I had my Finsta name as previously.
Mhm.
So that was when like the It Girl thing, and everybody was like, I'm in It Girl. And I was like, I don't know where I found Poster Gworl. Like Poster Gworl is like a poster. I forgot where I found it, but I was like, I'm gonna name it this. Like I'm gonna just name it Poster Gworl. Everybody
Mhm.
know my pencil. So yeah, and after that, I just used my favorite colors. The star thing is kind of just like my thing. Like if I see a star, usually people see like a star icon, they kind of think of me or like think of Poster Girl. So it kind of just all stuck. And I think it flows so
Mhm.
well because brand reflects my personal aesthetic. So like anything I put out, I just do it based off of like how my own personal aesthetic would be.
And that's
Yeah.
a really good thing to do. So, going into your personal aesthetic, how do you believe it changed from 2022 to today in terms of your brand?
Okay, so Poster Girl started off, it's like like a comic book magazine type deal.
Mhm.
So I was doing a lot of like comic book themes or like comic book aesthetics, but with my favorite colors. So like pink, hot pink, pink, blue, black, all that.
Mhm.
So as I progressed, I still love the color pink, of course, like it's pink in here, but I wanted I wanted to navigate it more so to like I got into more like a girly girl type deal as opposed to my streetwear girl
Mhm.
type deal. So I'm into like the bows or just like sparkly stars or just like
Mhm.
silver crisp type stuff. So
Mhm.
I would say that's kind of like how it's moved from like a girly comic book thing to just like the
Mhm.
overall girly aesthetic. So yeah. So now it's kind of like cursive writing or like the Juicy Couture inspired like logos, which I have a shirt. I'm doing some more merch too, but it'll be
Okay.
like yeah, it's kind of more like a girly girl as opposed to like girly comic. So yep.
Okay. And
Mhm.
honestly, I feel as if when it comes to your aesthetic, it's very so consistent, and most importantly, it really just blends all together with not only just how you are as a person, but like you previously stated, how you wanted your brand to look. So, as you started to begin the Poster Girl journey, what did that look like? Can you tell me how did it first start off with the interview process? How did you choose your guests? Anything that you'd like for us to know?
Yeah, so okay, so interview wise or like podcast wise, I started with people who I knew, which it kind
Mhm.
of still is like that, and I kind of pick up like people who I don't know here and there, but I did a
Mhm.
lot of like I said, I did a lot of modeling, and just like photo shoots previously, like all throughout college. So I ended up meeting a couple different people that was in the creative like scene. And I was like,
Mhm.
okay, cool. I'm use the people I'm comfortable with because I had never done any type of interviews, no production. Like all of this is very new. Like everything here is very, very new for me. So I needed to
Right.
do something in the most comfortable aspect that I could think of. So I just used or picked everyone I knew. Like Judah was my first one. I actually had just met Judah. I want to say probably like 2 weeks before we did that interview because he wanted me to do
Really?
yeah, it's like me and Judah had just met before that. We did
Mhm.
a for this party he was throwing, and everybody was just cool. So I was like,
Oh.
cool, do it. Like I'm just gonna do an interview, and then after that, we been like cool, like this is this. So
Yeah,
it's just I go based off of vibes. Like I'm a big person. I'm big on energy, and I'm big on like
definitely.
discernment. So like however I feel or however I feel like your vibe or energy is, I'm gonna
Mhm.
go that direction. So if I feel like you're a genuine person, 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna gravitate towards you. Or if I feel like you're kind of like, you know how people be, and then I like
Mhm.
step.
Definitely.
So yeah, I just go based off of like I used to do a lot of entrepreneurship or just like life motivation type interviews last year, but I said I kind of want to change that and this year do more
Mhm.
so tailored towards fashion and beauty. So that's kind of how I've been picking my people this year. Just people who are solely like I know for a fact they're gonna come do what they supposed to do with the fashion part. So yeah, that was the
Definitely.
moment.
Next question is, when it came to designing your merch when you first came out, what was your vision? Was there anybody that inspires you? Was there an era, an aesthetic? Tell me all about that.
So I've always wanted to do. I've always seen myself selling clothes. Like I
Mhm.
had came up with a store name called Monet and Co, which is my middle name, and then
Okay.
Monet and Co. But I never acted on it, and I kind of just like let it go or whatever. And then I started Poster Gworl, and I noticed like as I started to get more traction, I wanted to have some sort of product where people get like represented, if that makes sense. So
Yes.
I always wanted to do a sweatsuit. I came up with this design, and it's so crazy. I came up with this design early on last year, so like probably early March or February last year, but I didn't drop them
Mhm.
until like September last year because they took so long to make
Mm.
them. And by the time I had paid for them to be made or whatever, I had came up with a whole new design for the sweatsuits that was
Oh
so much more cute.
wow.
No, literally, like it was so much more. Like these are, I love these. Like I wear this every day if I could,
That
but
is
it was
so cute.
thank you. Like I'm gonna do some more when they get
Do a
cut. When
360. Do a 360 for a second. Let me see. Oh, y'all see the
yeah,
logo on the back, the stars on the
those-
hood, everything. I
so
definitely
yeah,
have
it's
to cop
like
me one.
no for real. Like they're super thick and super combed up. So I was like, we cannot sell these in the summertime because people are not gonna. They are so thick. Oh my god. But yeah, so like I did that and then dropped these. And then I was gonna do some more for Black Friday with the new designs, but that ended up
Mhm.
going left because I got scammed out of my money with that. So I had to build up, yeah, I had to build up off of that to do this new
Oh
merch line
my
that I'm about to do.
gosh.
So it's been a journey. You know, it's been a journey. It's been a big journey, but I will say I've learned so much along the journey, and I'm glad I learned
Mhm.
everything that I learned last year because it kind of fell into place for me to do what I need to do this year. So last year was a crazy year, man. Between the scamming, between Slam Magazine trying to take my whole post growth thing, it was just last year was crazy. Last year was so crazy. It was so crazy.
I
Last
am
year was crazy.
sitting back like, oh my gosh. So
Yeah,
if you're
last year.
comfortable, are you willing to share what happened and give any advice to anybody like yourself who is starting these brands and don't know where to start?
Yeah, so okay, I'll start with the Slam magazine example. So I will say I'm always 10 steps ahead. I will say
Mhm.
that. And I love that about myself. Like I'll be overly prepared for something if I feel like it's a good idea. Like when I
Right.
first started Girl, I made sure I had all my LLCs, the trademark and stuff was in the works, EINs in the
Mhm.
like everything was like because I'm like this will probably catch on. So I just wanted to go ahead and get that out the way. But 5 months into me actually doing Postal Girl, and then probably like a week before my birthday, or like 2 weeks before my birthday, I look on my phone. And if people don't know what Slam Magazine is, Slam Magazine is a huge magazine that's been around since the 1990s or 1980s or whatever. And it's an
Mm.
athletic sports magazine. Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, everybody's been in this magazine. Like it's super duper big. But I looked and I saw that they were doing this podcast called Listen Up Girls with the same color scheme, same type of star logo, everything, same concept, all of that is Postal Girl. And I'm like, am I tripping? Then I look on it a little more and I notice people are in the
Mhm.
comments saying like this is post like tagging me and looking and saying like this is Postal Girl stuff,
Yeah.
like this is Postal Girl. So I'm looking, I'm like, okay. Then I look a little more and I'm like watching them post a little more about it. And I end up having a huge breakdown because I'm like,
Oh my
They done
gosh.
Poster. I'm just starting out. I'm 22. I
Mhm.
can't argue with $1 billion magazine
Brand,
platform.
yeah.
Yeah, $1 billion brand like that. That's insane. So fast forward, they ended up posting the episode on YouTube, all that. People still in the comments on YouTube. Then they started deleting comments. So I'm like, so y'all know what y'all doing.
Wow.
So I'm, yeah,
Right.
exactly. Y'all see what y'all doing. Y'all know exactly what y'all doing. Y'all deleting comments. So I'm like, okay, now we got to get legally involved.
Mhm.
So I will say with my parents, they've always been the parents that don't play, no mess.
Right.
So like, oh, all my teachers will call my parents if anything happened. Everybody know to call my mom. Everybody know to call my dad. Like they one of them zero tolerance parents.
Yeah.
Oh, my dad did this, and he went ballistic. My mama, her being her, she's sitting in confusion and disbelief. But my dad, he's more like, what you like? What? So then
Right.
he like get the lawyers on the phone right now. So all that. So we got legally involved with that. Luckily, I haven't had any more issues after that. So if they know if we
Mhm.
do have issues, then we do have good backup. But that
Right.
was an experience because I've never had to show up to a lawyer's office. I never had to get paperwork involved. Never like that was crazy. That was really, really crazy. But part of that they said saved us was I was prepared paperwork wise. Like I had
Mm.
all my documents, I had all my proof. I had already started my documentation right when I first got the idea. So they
Mhm.
was like, you'll be okay. So that was that. I was the biggest lesson I learned from that is just like always be prepared. Just like it's
Yeah.
okay to be prepared. Like people would tell you you may be doing too much starting out or whatever, but no, it's okay to be prepared because you never know what you're gonna stumble upon. And then with the merch part, with getting scammed, the biggest lesson I learned from that would be really stuff is just a learning experience. Like you're gonna have some hiccups and you're gonna have some crazy stuff that happen, but everything happens for a reason, and the lessons you learn it for a reason. So like, just don't let a lot
Right.
of stuff. And it's you can build it back up from that. Like just always knowing like it's possible to do it again. If you did it before, you can do it again. So yeah, that's that.
And going into the rebrand, how did you find yourself being resilient in those times? Because first off, I just want to say I'm sorry that happened to you because nobody deserves nobody deserves to go through seeing their hard work being stolen by a big brand. And the fact that they knew who you were and did all that, they could have just asked you to host it or something.
That's what we said. We literally was like, we could have just collabed. Like it's nothing to collab.
Right,
It's nothing. But
right.
yeah,
And with that, how did you find yourself being resilient? And of course, you speak about your relationship with God, which is an amazing thing. How did you feel that God used you in that moment to say, you know what, this is a learning experience. It's time for me to build up on it and finally see what this brand is supposed to actually look like?
yeah. I really feel like that everything that happened last year, I feel like was a big test for me to see if I learned what I was supposed to have learned in 2022. Like
Mhm.
2022 was a very life-changing year for me when between
Mhm.
school, between people, between jobs, just like 2022 I endured a whole lot and I changed as a person from the
Mhm.
inside out and I feel like it's crazy. In 2022, I was sitting in my bed and I was just like, I don't think 2023 gonna be the year. I think it's gonna be 2024. And I just
Mhm.
knew like something just came to me and told me that. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not even gonna get
Wow.
my head programmed that it's 2023. Like I really feel like it's gonna be 2024.
2024.
So yeah, and then after experiencing 2023, I just realized at the end of the year, I was like, I was right. I think I was right because 2023 was
Mhm.
just to make sure I learned what I was supposed to have learned in 2022. Like God really was testing me to make sure, like I
Mhm.
showed you the 2022, let's see if you apply what you learned from 2022. And then after
Right.
all through that, what helped me make sure I learned my lesson was understanding everything happens for a reason.
Mhm.
Always, I have a very, very high faith, and I've always like that everything happens for a reason. Point of view kind of really just helped me through a lot of stuff outside of Poster World, like even life situations with people, everything. Like a lot of stuff don't get to me how it used to get to me. Like I used to be like I used to react to every single thing, or I used to feel like I had to like react or like just like
Yeah,
explode off of everything or anything somebody said or did to me. And after experiencing all of that, it's just like people gonna do what they want to do. People gonna act how they want to
right.
act. Stuff gonna happen the way it happens. Like you, as
Mhm.
long as you're staying focused and grounding yourself. Like last year, I read the book of Matthew in the Bible a whole
Mhm.
lot. I'm rereading it now actually, and a lot of stuff in there just it kind of just spoke to me in a way of like understanding everything. Like just stay faithful and just like keep using or doing the lessons that you've been taught, because literally anything could change at any given moment. Like I tell my
Right.
parents, we literally could blow up tomorrow. Like we don't know what day this is gonna happen. So as long as I stay grounded and stay like in the motion
Yeah.
of I need to do, we don't know when it's gonna happen. Like it could literally happen today and we don't even know. So
Right.
just trust God. Like trust, I always say just trust God, have faith in God, and just like always use your discernment. Discernment is very, very important. So yeah.
Speaking about your discernment, what makes that a big thing in terms of the brand, and how do you relate that to everybody who is either listening to the podcast or just viewing your page?
Um all right, so I got another story for y'all. When I first started Poster Gworl, it was these people in Memphis that wanted me to sign a contract to show Poster
Mhm.
Gworl only on their particular platform. And
Mm.
after the sermon, that's when I noticed like that was my first lesson I had to the first
Mhm.
test that I had to see. Cause with that, I knew because I was so early starting out, I can't just go ahead and sign something right away. And then
Right.
also with that, I don't know the people, didn't know the people like that that was trying to sign me, I guess. Um, and with that, I noticed I'm glad I did not choose to do that, because after the
Mhm.
fact, they claimed they was doing all this support, doing all this, all that. And then after the fact, it was like she didn't want to work with us, so we like it's forget it.
Right.
Like so discernment is just so important, because there's gonna be so many people to offer you stuff. There's gonna be so many people to want to work with you. There's gonna be so many people to want to come on your platform or just take over your platform. But a lot of people come in disguises, and a lot of people are very good at
Mm.
masking themselves. So, and I learned this through friendships. A lot of people mask themselves with their own ulterior, whatever motives, whatever the word is, motives. But you have to know how to read people very, very well. And I got that from my dad. Like me and my dad are very, very good at like observing people
Mhm.
and reading like people's energy and motives before we even talk to them. And that's one thing I'm always thankful for. Like I used to be a
Mhm.
pharmacy technician, and I would always tell like you got people coming in business suits with Amex cards and they addicted to that medicine. You would never even know, but they're addicted to that medicine. So
Yep.
it's just crazy. You have to understand people's intentions, and you can't be oblivious to
Right.
how people move in the world. So that I would say that's where my discernment kicked in the most. Just like being mindful and watching people and how they move. If that makes sense. Yeah.
Definitely. It definitely does make sense now hearing it, because for me, I'm gonna be really honest. I struggle with discernment a lot. So just
Mhm.
hearing that, it kind of lined up with the situations I faced. So it was just really just like an eye opener for me. And I was like, she's making sense.
Mhm.
And the next question is, what do you think is the biggest moment for the poster girl? Like, what exactly said, this is where I want to be. Thank you, God. I'm gonna keep going.
Oh wait. That's a great question. I would say really, I want to say when I dropped my merch last year, but
Mhm.
honestly, for my family, I believe that moment was experiencing that stuff with Slam Magazine. Like the way my
Mm.
dad put it was, if you got these people all the way in New York worrying about your stuff, it ain't
Right.
no, you don't even understand what you got on your hands. Like you don't understand what you've created for real. And I think that was the biggest eye opener, seeing that people that big want a piece of what I'm just now starting out to do. So after that, it's kind of just been like, I'm gonna do this, and I don't know when it's gonna work, but I'm gonna make it work for real. So I think, I think that, and then also just like when I talk to people and they
Mhm.
come to me and just be like, "You're Jamaya," or like, "I've seen Poster Gworl," like, "I really like Poster Gworl." Stuff like that kind of keeps me going and makes me understand, like, okay, maybe this isn't like a failure, or this is worth doing after all. Like, people would really like people understand it, people like it. Cause I thought it was gonna be stupid to people, cause ain't nobody ever really just did this before. And I'm like, dang,
Right.
this makes sense. But after people telling me like it being different is what's gravitating them towards it, it was like, okay, maybe I need to keep doing this.
And
Yeah.
I'm so grateful that you did not stop because seeing people like you really have not only just inspired me, but just made me realize that there's definitely a place for people that look like us and talk like us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very important that I give you your flowers right here. So I just want to tell you thank you so much for just being, and I'm gonna tell y'all a story too, because I
Mm-hmm.
think, like I said, 2022, I was on TikTok and I saw something that said the Poster Girl magazine. I was like, a magazine? Do I really see myself being on it? But then, of course, with God, He was like, you gonna do something else with it. And
Mm-hmm.
now that I'm actually seeing it happen, it's just like,
Oh.
and for me, it's just like a delayed but not denied situation. Because when I saw you for the first time, I was just like, oh my gosh, if I could actually, work with you and see like you as somebody who could definitely mentor me, I was like, that'd be honestly dope. And now that I'm actually here doing it, it's a really big thing.
Oh,
And
thank
when I tell you,
you.
I was not trying to
Oh
cry before you
my God.
got here. I was like, oh, maybe not. Because then
Oh
everybody gonna be like, now why you
my
crying on the phone? I was like, it's not even a cry.
God.
It's just like, it's real because people don't understand. Like when there's that one person who has really changed what it means to see somebody make their own space and be so comfortable in it. It's just like that could be me. And then like now I'm actually interviewing one of my heroes. That says so much.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That makes me oh, I needed to hear that. So thank you. I
Really?
really needed to hear that. Thank you. Thank Wow, that's crazy. Love that.
It is because I was like, dang, 2 years ago, I saw her. 2 years. I'm right here with her.
Oh my
So, so
gosh.
it's seriously an honor. And so, my big question is, do you see yourself getting on a bigger level in terms of, creating something as big and seeing other people or even networks that actually celebrate people that look like us collaborate
Mhm.
with you and just keep the Poster Girl aesthetic not only just alive but a legacy.
Yeah, like I will say I've kind of been nervous about that
Mhm.
because the music industry scares me. The
Me
Hollywood
too.
department scares me. So it's like it don't scare me like I'm shaking in my boot, but it scares me like spiritually. Like I ain't
Yeah.
trying to like I'm good. Like
Right.
could be as big as whatever God wants me to be, but I ain't going nowhere past that if I'm not supposed to.
Right.
So like I definitely want to collaborate with like other platforms or just like people, but I kind of like the social media world better than the
Yeah.
Hollywood type of world or just like television type of world because I feel like
Yeah.
social media is more so in my control. But when you get to
Mhm.
like that level of like
It's out of
people
our control.
out of your control. So
Yeah.
honestly, not like it scares me. I know like I'll be okay regardless, just the type of person I am, but like
Right.
it definitely crosses my mind often of just like understanding that
Mhm.
everything I've learned will probably have to be tested when I get there. And that's probably
Right.
why what I've learned because God knows, like, when you get here, you're gonna have to use everything in your might not to fall in the traps.
Right.
So yeah, like I don't know. It definitely worries me. It worries me a lot, but I think I'll be okay. Like I'm big on my
Yeah,
family around me, or just like people I know and trust being around me. And the people I know and trust don't play that mess, so they'll be
right.
trying to be like, "Look, this ain't true. We ain't doing this. We leave. Let go." So yeah, them folks don't play. They don't. But you need people like that in your
Yeah.
corner. Hmm.
So going into besides the magazine, what made you want to turn that into a podcast?
Really? Honestly, I wanted it to have some sort of extra aspect. Like it needed
Mhm.
something else with it.
Right.
And the podcast kind of just came about like I don't even know how we got to the podcast part. Like it was supposed to be one simple
Mhm.
interview. Really, the magazine was originally supposed to be a blog online, like a cute little fashion blog. That's it.
Mm.
That's it. Real low key, all that. Then the magazine came about. Then we did Judah's interview, and that kind of just like took off with people
Shot
wanting to
it
come
up.
be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was like if we need to do it right, and we gonna make it look real, real cute. So that's when the setup came with the podcast. That's when the product, like Antoine started paying attention to lightings with the production and everything. And I started like actually trying to come up with an aesthetic or just like a plan of how I want to conduct the interviews. And then
Mhm.
with doing that, kind of just like took the podcast to where it is, or like it transformed
Right.
us in a podcast itself, like being mic'd up and everything with it. So it was definitely like all of this, and I feel like that's another reason I'll probably be succeed. Like I feel like I have faith that I will succeed in this because none
Mhm.
of this was intentional. Like all of this is so
Right.
random. This is random. I was in nursing school. This is so random. Like
Really?
yeah, when I graduated University of Memphis, I went to nursing school, but at the same time I started
Oh
nursing school,
wow.
girl started
Mhm.
getting more notice. So I was like, I can't focus on
Yeah.
both. Postal girl.
Right.
We're gonna do so. Yeah, this is very random. Like all of this is so random. Like all like looking back, it's just like I would not have thought that this is what I would have been doing after graduating, but
Right.
it makes more sense for me to be like everybody say this is you. Like this is meant for you to do it. And hearing that kind of just pushes me to go harder often or just like keep continuing in general. So yeah.
And next question that I have is, what do you see next for the Poster Gworl? Do you see, I know that you spoke about this earlier, Poster
Mhm.
Gworl Network or TV? Like, what do you think?
So what I see next is have you ever seen like GQ Sports or like heard of GQ? It's
Mhm.
like so
Yeah.
I kind of want it to be like GQ. Like I want
Mhm.
it to be an overall platform or just like brand surrounding fashion and beauty. But on the
Mhm.
network aspect, have like so I set up the YouTube channel with
Mhm.
PGTV for vlogs, PG University for tutorials, and then seasons 1 and 2 of the podcast. So I kind of just want
Mhm.
like overall brand to just like grow. Like I just see it growing, getting a big studio warehouse to ship out merch, to film, to shoot. Um, Still doing my magazine, but I
Mhm.
want to have a place where I like can do the whole editorial. Like I modeled my whole first
Mhm.
magazine. If I do another, when I do another one, I want it to be a whole editorial where I have models come in, we have a cover person, we do different
Mhm.
shoots, art, all of that. Like I have so much in my head, and a lot of people don't know. Like it's just me that's like doing everything.
Right.
It's kind of just like and my head get overstimulated so much to where I just gotta leave my house and drive. Like it
Yeah.
be my head throughout the day. And with that, I just see so much for post. But like it's the way I will say the way I've laid out the brand itself,
Mhm.
it can go so many directions and there's just so many endless possibilities for it to do. Like the range is literally limitless. Like
Right.
The range is very, very is literally limitless with Poster Gworl. So it's just so many ideas in my head. Like that's it's just like so yeah.
And I want to make sure that I ask this
Mhm.
because for me, I feel like it's very important to ask, you know,
Mhm.
people like yourself, what do you think it means to have a brand as an African American who
Mhm.
has been looked down upon, and also especially with you attending a PWI, what did
Mhm.
that look like for you?
I will say one being attending a PWI in a city like Memphis. Well, really, the school ain't got nothing to do with what I was finna say, but I was gonna go somewhere else. But being in Memphis, and Memphis is a very like you got people that's trying to collaborate now with people or whatever,
Mhm.
but everybody knows Memphis is still Memphis. Memphis is still like every man for himself,
Right.
kind. Of. It's kind of like I don't know. It's weird, but I feel like I don't know. Like coming from a personal standpoint, say for instance, I did a
Mhm.
lot of a couple brand ambassador work or whatever when I was in college, and
Mhm.
you still have like issues like colorism. You still have people who have their favorites or whatever. And I'm a dark skinned girl, so it's like
Right.
one thing in itself. Opposed, I mean, in addition to being African American, all that. So I don't know, like it's just very, very. It's an experience for sure. But as
Right.
I've grown and created Poster Gworl, I will say that creating my own table and own
Mhm.
opportunities for myself really like made noise for real. Like
Right.
not only for me personally, but just for other people to see to where
Right.
like I was the underdog. I'm the underdog now, but I was really the
Yeah.
underdog like years ago. So it's like kind of seeing underdog grow while still being underdog, but just like progress, like watching that progress of
Right.
underdog for people. It's very, very eye opening for a lot
Mhm.
of people. But it's definitely an experience. It's definitely an experience. And I would say to get out of that, or just not getting out of it, but navigating through that would be just like not caring. You can't like
Yeah.
care, but let it determine how you move, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Don't let other people's energy or other people's actions determine how you move or what you do. So yeah,
Right. And
definitely an
one more question, although I was like, I can't end it because this is so.
experience.
My last question for you is, if you had to make a sentence out of 5 words for anybody who is looking to become a poster girl or just to become like the it girl of our generation, what would you say?
Remember, you are that girl.
Period.
And what I mean by that is you gonna be you regardless. Don't matter
Mhm.
what happens, don't matter what nobody say, don't matter what nobody do. You gonna do you regardless. And doing you
Right.
regardless gets you very, very far. I promise you, doing me regardless of everything I've experienced has gotten me way, way farther than it did when I was a
Right.
hothead. So remember, you are that girl. Signed the post world. Okay, period. I'm just like that.
Well, for everybody who has been listening, thank you guys so much for tuning in. It has been a pleasure not only speaking to my role model, but just getting everybody's advice and just making sure that I follow it. I want to say thank you all again for tuning in to another conversation here on the platform. Please be sure to not only just listen to each and every episode on all streaming platforms from Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible. Hopefully more coming soon. And also tune into the visual on YouTube. And
Right.
before we go, can you please give us any ways to connect with you or even just follow up with the Poster Girl brand?
So on Instagram and YouTube, it's the Poster Gworl, ThePosterGworl. My personal Instagram is Jamaya Moné, JAMAYAMONE. And on TikTok, it's the Poster Gworl, and then it's also the Poster Gworl podcast. So yeah. And then on all streaming platforms, it's the Poster Gworl. All you gotta do is if you go on Google, we the first people you're fine. So website is thepostergworl.com. Everything the Poster Gworl, the Poster Gworl, the Poster Gworl. So yeah.
Once again, thank you guys for tuning in. If there's, like I said, anybody who is struggling mentally, please be sure to call 988. That is the mental health hotline. I say this in every single episode. With great influence comes greater responsibility, and it's my responsibility as your host to make sure that everybody's mental, spiritual, and physical health is at their best, and I want to make sure I keep exercising that. And without further ado, I am the host, the HPIC, Amaya Kai, with Jamaya Monet, the Poster Girl. We love y'all, and we signing out.